Hello Idle Hero fans, thank you for tuning in today, as I'm going to be talking about a specific hero, Kroos, and what his effect is on the meta, be it good or bad. And I'd like to start off this by saying that it's pretty obvious that Kroos is insanely strong. I did a video about him pretty soon after he came out, and if that's any indication to people who are a regular at my channel, that something is a little weird, is because when I see a new champion get released, I generally don't do a video on them because it can be hard to tell whether or not a hero is going to be good in the meta or bad in the meta. But with Kroos, it was a little bit of an obvious thing, because one of the first things you notice about Kroos is that if you go to the arena, for example, you can see players like Meh have him as a 9-star at level 100. Surdy as well has him as a 2-star, or a 7-star, sorry, at level 160, and the top player has him at 10-star. And that's very interesting because these are all players who are at the top of the arena, which means their teams are extremely competitive, but it's just super unusual to see, especially, for example, with Surdy VN here, that he actually only needs a 7-star Kroos in order to dominate 99% of the players on this server. And what this comes down to is a little bit of a bad design choice on the devs' part. And the reason that it's a bad design choice is because he actually is almost a useless hero in terms of his ability is not that great. It's okay. Weakness is good, but he's a little slow when it comes to applying it, so it's not particularly useful. You're not going to choose him over a crowd control unit to give the magic source or any energy artifact, for example. His second passive is okay, but again, not amazing. It does help with damage, so when he does get his ability off, it's not terrible, but he is not a high tier hero because of these abilities. Flame power is another thing. It's just a base HP increase. His speed gets increased because of that. But the problem is this last ability here, which is when he's below 50% health, he has a 75% chance to stun all enemies. And this is the same as his 9-star. And if you even just go to his 6-star, for example, which is here, you can look at his 6-star still has a 50% chance to, or sorry, a 60% chance to stun all enemies when below 50% health. And that is insanely strong. 60% chance to stun is theoretically much greater than even something like Demon Hunter's ability. And when you put that in conjunction with the fact that he only has to hit below 50% health, which is something you can very easily do, especially when you only have 66,000 HP, then it becomes a big problem because there's almost no counterplay to this. And that's where Kroos kind of fell off the truck when it comes to good design, because I will honestly say I do think he is good for the meta, because we did need more Abyss heroes to fit in with the current climate. Now, currently, the only Abyss heroes other than him that you'll see on a practical team is Scary, Scree, whatever, and Kareem. Now, these two heroes do very different things. Kareem is really good because right now the meta allows heroes to destroy other heroes very quickly, so if he uses his ability after one or two of your opponents have been destroyed because of his smash, he's going to do a ton of damage, so he kind of fits in with that meta. Scree does a lot of damage just by himself to all units, which allows, again, your heroes, if you have something like a Vesa or an Asmodel or a Faithblade, to just finish off whoever's left. And those two contribute via killing. They're very fast at destroying other units. Kroos, however, just has this crowd control built into him, and this is something that's different from the rest of Abyss, and what kind of turned people on to Abyss in the first place, because without him putting this alternative, if you wanted damage, for example, you could go with the other two, but a lot of people, if they wanted damage, were just going to turn to Vesa or Asmodel or heroes of that nature. However, Kroos allows you to turn to Abyss for a different reason, and the problem with that is that the reason is just too easy. Having this huge stun chance with no real disadvantage is such a problem, and it really screws up the kind of the play of the games, because, or the flow of a PvP match, because these guys don't need to put investments into him. So that's why it was so obvious at the start that he was going to be problematic, because people had picked him up insanely quickly. You only need a level 100 9-star, or you only need a level 160 7-star to make him an effective unit in a otherwise 10-star team, and that is, it's just not a good choice. But again, I do think he does fit the meta well. The problem is that there generally is no counterplay. What we need is something that can work around. This needs to have a second condition. It can't just be when he hits 50% health. It has to be something like if he's already used his ability or any other condition like that. And this kind of reminds me of the same problem that Sigmund was having for a while when he was popular. When Sigmund was popular, it was because his damage output was so great over time during a heal meta that he could actually outdamage these healing units like Ormus over long periods of time because, again, ironically or coincidentally as well, his last ability is only triggerable when enemies have lower armor than him, but almost everything has lower armor than him. So the prerequisite almost doesn't exist, meaning that these types of abilities are just going to go off no matter what. And that's problematic for design. Now, of course, Sigmund was phased out over time because the game just became too fast for him, essentially. And Kroos may eventually get phased out over time as well if people just decide to go with, say, more Demon Hunters. Multiple Demon Hunters on a team can kind of cancel out his effect because you're going to be getting the same effect anyway. But they won't always, or they won't completely take him out because he also allows you to get that crowd control off if you're on the back foot. If your opponent happens to have faster Demon Hunters than you, he can still stun up their team just by getting hit, which allows you to make a comeback in a fight. And that is one of the first heroes I think that you've really seen have that ability, where even if you're losing, just by taking damage, you can kind of get back into the game because he's going to stun them for 2 rounds with 75% chance if he's a 9-star, and that is just outrageous. And I really just don't like the way that they've kind of designed it because it shows a fundamental flaw when you can have a 7-star, an 8-star, a 9-star do extremely well amongst other 10-star heroes. I don't know if this is an oversight of the devs, but I don't know if they're going to change it. But ultimately, we need something like this, but not to this degree. We need something that's similar, but not quite as drastic and not quite so guaranteed. Now, the way you can try to fix this, like I said, is adding a prerequisite that actually matters. Or what you can do is lower this chance to stun. Because right now, the best crowd control unit you can use is essentially Demon Hunter. And having a Demon Hunter with 50% chance to silence is damn near unbeatable. But 50% chance to silence is much worse than a 60% chance to stun, because not only do you have a higher chance, or again, I'm comparing this to the 9-star Kroos, by the way, not the 10-star. If you have a 60% chance to stun or a 75% chance to stun, depending on which level of Kroos you have, that is so much crazier in terms of how many units you're going to be stunning, as well as the actual crowd control, because stun is just a much more valuable crowd control than silence, and because of that, he is just so overloaded on crowd control. And in a game that relies on that so much early, that is super detrimental. So, I don't know, I would like to see him changed a little bit, tweaked down, just to keep him in line, because he does fit the meta very well, but I think he's just a little bit too overpowered right now. I especially don't like the fact that you can have him as a 7, 8, 9-star, and has just as much, if not more value than the actual 10-star would. But it's hard to say what the devs are going to do with it. But I just wanted to make a quick video about that because I've been getting a lot of questions specifically about him and a lot of people complaining about him. And I just want to say I do agree that he's overpowered, but I do feel that Abyss did need something like that. However, I just think that it was mismanaged a little bit. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys feel that Kroos is in a good spot? Do you think that he's overpowered? Do you think that he's underpowered? Well, I doubt very many people think that he's underpowered, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And as always, if you do enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, especially in the current YouTube climate. It helps a lot if you actually like the videos. Normally, I don't even bring this stuff up, but it's become much worse as YouTube has gone on to actually try to generate views without having a good like to dislike ratio. So if you guys could just click on that if you do enjoy the video, help me out. It would help me out a lot. And if you do dislike the video, just leave a comment and tell me why, and I'm more than willing to work it out. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching as usual, and have a great day.